So for 20 years now, I am living in Egypt, mainly in Cairo, but I'm traveling a lot inside Egypt because I know every remote site, even non-public open site from 20 years. Egypt is a very complex topic, needing years of research and work. And unfortunately, there are people after 2 tourist trips in Egypt applying to conference like this and wanting to speak about ancient Egyptians. But, so my work, I started in the university 7 years because I did the University of Sorbonne about ancient Oriental languages, and for that reason I am able to read hieroglyphic. Also, I did archaeology in another university in Tolbiac in Paris, and at the age of 20 years, I was in Egypt. So, this is my website, gigalresearch.com. My name is Antoine Gigal. I know that you said Gigal, but it's Gigal. And I'm French. You're right, I'm not only French, I'm Egyptian too. And this is true because I got the nationality many years ago. So, also, I founded an organization. The name is Giza for Humanity, with a team of scientists working about many research, not only in Egypt. You can find news of me on Facebook every day. You can get news from Egypt, news for everything about Egypt of today and in the past. You have photos, you have text, you have everything. Also, you have a page for Giza for Humanity and another one for Cairo and for my church. So, with Giza for Humanity, I'm the founder of Giza for Humanity. We went with my team to make research deep inside Egypt, in the Western Desert, and one of my research was about the whales in the Western Desert. I work mainly with geologists, because to be true, I prefer to work with scientists and geologists than with archaeologists. So with Giza for Humanity, we work a lot outside Egypt too, and we found a complex around the Mauritius pyramids. And also I found 21 other pyramids in Sicily. You have the text and photos on my website. Well, now I will speak about the small Hathor temple in Memphis. So, where is this temple? You see on the left, from Giza until Dashur, this is a line of all the pyramids, actually, in Egypt. And you see that Memphis is right in the middle. So the city of Memphis is 12 miles south of Cairo on the west bank of the Nile. And the name of the village is Mitrahina. Mitrahina is on the place where it was Memphis before. And the city was also the place that marked the boundary between Upper and Lower Egypt. And according to Chandler, Memphis had some 30,000 inhabitants And it was by far the largest settlement worldwide. From the time of its foundation, we think it's about 2250 BC, but this is, of course, the official dating. I think it was much older. So this is a picture in 1920 of what is remaining of Memphis. You see, it was a huge city. Memphis became the capital of ancient Egypt for over 8 consecutive dynasties during the Old Kingdom. And it is part of the World Heritage with Giza by the UNESCO. And this is not known. Memphis was a center for the worship of Ptah, the energy of creation and artworks. And it is remaining only Sphinx in alabaster in Mitrahina Museum, the ancient site of Memphis. This Sphinx was guarding the temple of Ptah before. Its great temple of Ukapta, meaning enclosure of the Ka of Ptah, was one of the most prominent structures in the city. The name of the temple, rendered in Greek as Aegyptos by the historian Manetton, from which derives the Latin Aegyptus, is believed to be the etymological origin of the modern English name Egypt. But do you know what means the Ka of Ptah? All of you have a Ka. The Ka is your double in the other density. And he's the only one able to see your past and your future. So he's able to guide you. So your Ka is stronger than you. So the Ka of Ptah is very, very strong, very important. And it is not a surprise if it was a symbol of the country. In the Holy of the Holies of the Temple of Ptah, you have this statue. You have the statue of Ramses II. I think the people there, you visit Egypt, you know this statue. Very impressive one. It was perfumed every day in the Holy of the Holies. It was, they put new clothes to him every day because he was supposed to be visited by the Ka of Ramses, even when he was alive. When they discovered this statue in Memphis, you see this is a painting, a French painting, when they discover just the hand of this statue. And then the statue was like that. It was a big work to put it, you know? You see how they... So you can see there that Memphis is mainly a palm tree place. So, Memphis, capital of the godlike pharaohs who reigned from Memphis from the first dynasty, and according to Manetton, ancient sources suggest that the white walls in Ebhet were founded by Menes. Menes is supposed to be the first official pharaoh of Egypt. But of course, you had many others before. So, it was, the name of Memphis was the fortress of the White Wall. And it was to control the 2 kingdoms. Memphis was also known as Jet Sut, everlasting places. The city was also at one point referred to as Ankhtawi, meaning life of the 2 lands, stressing the strategic position of the city between Upper and Lower Egypt. Memphis was a royal residence where the pharaohs received the double crown, the divine manifestation of the unification of the 2 lands. So all those ceremonies were in the temple of Ptah. And the importance of the shrine is attested in one of the Palermo stone and other inscriptions. Memphis declined briefly after the 15th dynasty with the rise of Thebes and the New Kingdom, but Memphis remained the second city of Egypt until the establishment of Phostat in 641. Phostat is ancient Cairo. So, we go to the Hathor temple now. What you see on the top is the temple of Ptah. And the temple of Hathor is there, small thing. When you will see now the true pictures, you will see that this temple was so big. So this is the temple of Ptah, the remains of today. World Heritage Site, and you see how it is, you know. We need money to put it again in good shape. What is interesting in this Ptah temple, the remains of today, is that you can see that there were small canals inside the temple. So the water was running inside the temple. So Menes, the first pharaoh, according to Manetho, made a lot of work, and the pharaohs after him, of course, in order to diverting the river with tides. And the Greek historian Herodotus, who tells the same, relates that during his visit to the city, the Persians paid particular attention to the condition of these dams so that the city was saved from the annual flooding. So it is said that during the dry season, you had islands, because Memphis is 7 islands too, 7 hills, I want to say. So it was 7 hills, and when the flooding was coming every year, it was like a big island. So this is, you see the Nile. It is not working, yeah? You see the Memphis area, and this on the left, I will show you now better, was the ancient Nile. Ancient Nile and the Nile of today. But of course, when the flooding was coming every year, all that was full of water. So this is Memphis today, and the Hathor temple is there. But you have to imagine when the flood was coming, that it was like this. And then, this is the hills of Memphis. Memphis hills. And Giza and the Nile flood. You have to remember that in 1970, with the completion of the high dam at Aswan, the annual flooding cycle in Egypt came to an end. So you can see that today. This is an ancient depiction of Giza with the Nile completely at the feet of the pyramids. The Egyptian year is 36 days and 6 months of flooding, because in fact 3 months very strong flooding. So you have inundation season, which is Achet, from June 21st to October 21. And you have emergence with this project. And project is the name for project of today. It's coming from Egyptian. Why project? because it's a time where you can do projects because the soil is still very damp and you can think what you will put as agriculture. Then you have summer, Shemu. So when it is dry, it was like this, and when the flooding was coming, it was like this. And I made a lecture last year about the flooding and Giza as a divine island. So I discovered with geologists, in Egyptian geologists, that in fact Giza was an island when the flooding was coming. You have to imagine Egypt, ancient Egypt, like this, full of canals and water everywhere, like this too. So we come back to Hathor Temple. This only is the Hathor Temple. You have to imagine this like this. The Hathor Temple. When the flooding was there, the boats were coming there, beside the temple. So, the small temple of Hathor was unearthed south of the Great Wall of the Hurkabta by Abdullah el-Sayed Mahmoud in the 1970s, and also dates from the time of Ramses II. And it is dedicated to the goddess Hathor, the Lady of the Sycamore, and it presents an architecture similar to the small temple shrines known especially to Karnak and Kertassi. Kertassi is in the south. And it is believed that this shrine was primarily used for processional purposes during major religious festivals. Alors, the name Hathor is the Greek corruption of the Egyptian variants Hathor, the house above, and then Het-Heru, the house of Horus. In later times, she is even equated with Isis. She was most often depicted as a cow with a sun disk between her horns. She was also shown as a hippopotamus, a falcon, a cobra, or a lioness headdress at times. Hathor was the goddess, as you know, of joy, motherhood, and love. Hathor's protection was invoked over children and pregnant women. She was also the patron of love, dance, alcohol, and foreign lands. Hathor is also known, and this is less known, as the Lady to the Limit. Limit meaning the edges of the known universe. She was named also Lady of the West and Lady of Greenstone and Malachite. And she was also the Lady of the Milk, Hesed, because Hesed was a manifestation of Hathor, the divine sky cow, in earthly form. Like Hathor, she was seen as the wife of Ra. Since she was the more earthly cow goddess, milk was said to be the beer of Hesed, a rather meaningless phrase, as Hesed means milk anyway. She's also the one who creates all nourishments. We come back to the temple. So this is a declivity, west side of the Hathor temple, where you saw the water before. The boats were coming there. So the boats were coming like this. True boats were coming to the processions for Hathor there. The ancient ritual of wrestling the papyrus for Hathor recalls her manifestation as a cow emerging from the papyrus swamps of the delta. Passengers in the escort boats accompanying Hathor's larger sacred bark performed this ritual during her voyage. Hathor's beautiful golden bark was named Great of Love. And it was a dazzling sight of gold encrusted with many semi-precious stones. Hathor's icon was placed in a special shrine inside the bark and carried on the shoulders of priests surrounded by the gods and goddesses of her entourage. So you had the navigation festival of Hathor occurring in the 3rd month of Achet, the inundation season. A month called also Chenet Het, meaning Voyage of Hathor, during the Old Kingdom. In fact, it was a celebration of thanksgiving for the inundation. We know also by the Papyrus Aris that the bark of Ptah went to the Hathor temple of Memphis by water to see the shrine of Hathor. So, this is the remains of the temple of Hathor. When you see that, you think there is nothing. But in fact, there is a lot of things. This is archaeology. You have to think that in this declivity, it's full of mud. And what you see there is the top of the columns. It's only the top. The south is over there, the north there. And the boats were coming this side. But you think it's small, but in fact it's 50 meters long and 20 meters large. And you see where are the columns there. So it's not a small, very small temple. So you have to imagine the columns like this. This one is very interesting because you see the hole on the right where they put the wood in order to move the block. And this is a depiction I did with ancient documents to show you how it was before. And it was looking like this from the water. So the boats were coming there. So why I am insisting a lot about the flooding? An alternate name for Hathor, which persisted for 3,000 years, was Mehtult, also spelled Mehult, Mehatweret, the Great Flood. So her name was also the Great Flood, who was the mother of Ra in the creation myth, carried him between her horns. So Hathor was named also the Great Flood. She was identified as responsible for the yearly inundation of the Nile. Another consequence of this name is that she was seen as a herald of imminent birth, as when the amniotic sac breaks and floods its waters. It is a medical indicator that the child is due to be born extremely soon. Hathor, Lady of the Inundation, Mistress of Life, and Lady of Fertility. For the positive news coming with the yearly inundation, she was of life. She was the goddess of joy, motherhood, and love, the mistress of jubilation, the queen of the dance, the mistress of music, the queen of the harp playing, the lady of the choral dance. Hathor had become a goddess of joy. But She was not only responsible for the yearly inundation of the Nile, she was named also Great Flood for the universal big flood. Iret Raheri Hetep Itemef, the eye of Ra on his disk. She was named like this. In the story of Ra, Hathor was created by her father Ra as Sekhmet, as a destroyer of men who were disobedient to him. Hathor was so angry that the people she had created would be audacious enough to plan that she became Sekhmet, war goddess of Upper Egypt, to destroy them. Hathor, as Sekhmet, became bloodthirsty and the slaughter was great. But the eye of Ra is meaning a lot of other things. So you have the 6 senses. Another thing about Hathor is the chain ring. The chain ring, she was wearing all the time the chain ring. It is this thing. The chain ring represented eternal protection. The chain ring became the cartouche which enclosed and protected the royal name for eternity. Some of its early depictions in the pyramid text show as a circle made from a double rope with the ends of the rope tied together. Its name came from a root that meant encircling, and one of its meanings was all that the sun circles. The earliest known example appeared on a wine jar in a recently found grave that probably dates to Dynasty 0 before about 3100 BC. So the double rope, the 2 kingdoms, and a double helix, but also the omega. This is the sign of omega. So Hathor is there for the omega, for the end. But first we will talk about the goddess Hathor as the Lady of the Sycamore. During the Old Kingdom, Hathor at Memphis was identified with the 3 goddesses, and her title there was Mistress of the Southern Sycamore. In the ancient language of Egypt, this is Nebat Nehet Reset. And Nebat Rehet Reset, the sycamore tree. This sycamore you see there. And you see Hathor, oh, sorry. You see Hathor in the tree there, and also there, and giving water. This is the water of life. The tree of Hathor was a tree of life in Egypt, from the fruit of which a divine drink of the mysteries was made. It was a tree to make one wise, as is said in the text, which became a tree of wisdom or abnormal knowledge. Wherever it was possible, the Egyptian coffin was made from the wood of the sycamore tree, the Khaten Anhu, or tree of life, so that the dead might be taken in the embrace of the mother of life, who was represented by the tree. But there were 2 sycamores. They are called the 2 divine sycamores of heaven and earth. This was Hathor as bringer to birth and bringer of souls. The 2 sycamore, one for the earth, the material life, and one for the divine, the heaven. And every temple of Hathor, you had the 2 sycamores. The sycamore of Hathor had been the discoverer of water with its deep rootage in the desert sand. The other sycamore dropped down the liquid of life in dew and rain as the water of heaven, that is wrote in the text. So the sycamore tree, the name is Nehat. And Nehat in hieroglyphic is written with a tree, a bird, the sign of water, and the sign of a shelter, a reed shelter, a courtyard. And you can see always today a sycamore tree on the northwest corner. And this temple was supposed to be a representation of a sacred island, a sacred mount, the perfect shelter for humans during the floods of the Nile. I could see from where the water is coming from. You will see now in the temple where it is. And I could see that the water is coming from a very sophisticated shaft and tunnels going underground. It's an incredible shaft. The sycamore tree, just under the sycamore tree. And there are still sycamore trees in this temple. The sycamore tree was known as a healing tree and was known later as the fig of Pharaoh. The sycamore, the symbol of Hathor, symbolized growth, love, communication, receptivity, nourishment, and life, because of course it was a tree of life. Do you know that sycamore tree is one of the most life-giving oxygen tree? A single fully grown sycamore tree can transform 26 pounds of carbon dioxide into life-giving oxygen every year. It is the tree who is giving the more oxygen on this planet. It is water resistant, and little boats were made of it, and sycamore often grows where other trees cannot. They can grow in flooded sites, so we have there an incredible sophisticated symbol of a shelter during floods as a temple. So, in the southeast of the corner of the temple, you have a sycamore tree. And in the southwest too. And it is in the southwest where I discovered the shaft, incredible shaft. You have to imagine this temple also with little canals of water around. This is the entrance of the shaft I discovered on the southwest corner of the temple. And inside it's incredible because it's fully, it's big beams of stones, incredible. And the water was running all around the temple, like this. You have also another pillar inside the temple of Hathor with all the pillars of Hathor. You had the Tat of Ta, which is a pillar of the four corners as sustainer of the earth. This is a depiction of the pharaoh offering things to Ta inside the Hathor temple. The partially uncovered reliefs show us traditional offering scenes when Pharaoh stands before various deities, but also the scenes connected with his jubilee, the Hepzet, the ritual race of the king, wearing the hat of crown and holding in each hand Hes vessel. Hes, the two cups full of water, water of life. But this is symbolizing the past and the future. The past, for the ancient, was harmony, and the future was chaotic. And this is, you can find this in modern physics today. It's very interesting. So, another thing about Hathor is the Hathor crown of electron. Hathor was all the time depicted with an electron crown. The name is Khefresh. Electrum is a naturally occurring alloy of gold or silver, and it was also a war helmet crown. And this is the crown of Hathor, of the daughter of the pharaoh Senusret II, because I wanted you to see what is this electrum crown looking. Why the Hathor crown was electrum? Electrum is from the Greek word elektron, for brilliant and for the sun, and used to describe a yellow color, and it is also used for amber. In Old Kingdom Egypt, sometimes as an exterior coating to the pyramidions atop ancient Egyptian pyramids and obelisks, electrum was also used in the making of ancient drinking vessels and coins. We know today that spherical nanoparticles of gold and silver, less than 10 millimeters in size, are potent antibacterial and even antiviral agents. And you can find in the Vedic hymns of India, they speak about the intracellular luminosity of electrum-enriched soma drinks and foods. So they used to take the crown of an electrum artifact and put it inside the water and the food they were taking. And it was supposed to endure eternal life. This special food additive is invisible and tasteless, but the Vedic texts are directly defining a god as one who has discovered and attained the light by consuming soma drinks and foods enriched with electrum. So this is meaningful with the water of life of Hathor. Now you have another thing with Hathor, is her necklace, the menat. You can see there, she's giving the menat to the pharaoh. The menat is a heavy-bedded necklace with a large sistrum-shaped counterbalance. The counterbalance is there, sorry. Counterbalance. As well as an epitaph for Hathor. And menat symbolized divine protection against evil spirits, good luck, fortune, and represented the concepts of joy, rebirth, fertility, and potency. And this is a true one. You find this in the Dendera temple of Hathor. And you see the bark with the sun discs there, and the 4 columns of the 4 directions, the 4 elements. And the menat was also meaning the destiny. So this bark with the sun is running on the water of the destiny. Menat, in ancient Egyptian, in fact, is minished. I don't know why Occidentals call it menat. It's minished. It's different. Menat was the name used for the goddess Hathor. It referred to an ancient Egyptian artifact which, like the sistrum, was closely connected with the goddess Hathor. It was held in the hand by its counterpoise and used as a rattle by Hathor's priestesses. So it was also used for music. Often it was worn as a protective amulet even by the Apis bulls, the sons of Hathor. The menat also symbolized fertility, and there are some experts who look upon the offering of the menat as a way of representing the mystical union between the goddess and her followers. But for me, it is linked to the destiny weight as well the gravity we face on Earth, the density we face on Earth. Then you have also a depiction of the 7 Hathors. It was said that when a child was born, 7 Hathors came to his bedside to announce his fate. The 7 Hathors were believed to know the future and the moment of death for every Egyptian. A person's destiny depended on the hour of their death, and the luck of ill fortune was connected with it. It was believed that the Hathors would exchange a prince born to ill fortune with a more fortunate child, therefore protecting the dynasty and the nation. The Hathors were shown as a group of young women playing tambourines and wearing the disc and horns of Hathor. The Egyptians referred to the Pleiades as the 7 Hathors. Hathors was originally a personification of the Milky Way. Connected with the Nile inundation, predicting fate and in charge of destiny. One was called Lady of the House of Jubilation or Lady of the Universe. There were 2 mistresses of the West, one named Sky Storm and the other You from the Land of Silence. 2 mistresses of the East named You from Chemis and Red Hair, respectively, and 2 ladies of sacred land, one called Bright Red and the other, Your name flourishes through skill. We know that in Occident with the old legend we have. Now, about the famous Hathor's ears. Priests of Hathor were often oracles and midwives, and people could go to some temples of Hathor to have their dreams interpreted. All the priestesses of Hathor were interpreting dreams. So the people used to tell them all their dreams. But of course the priestess was not all the time there. And they used to speak to the ears of Hathors. But not only that, of course. Hathor was also named the Lady of the Vulva. And this is, of course, a fecundity symbol. And also you can see the sun with the rays. All Egyptian depiction has many levels of understanding and knowledge. And under I just put a true cow ear, in order you can compare. You had a lot of priestesses of Hathor. You had Intikas in Memphis. She was in Memphis in this temple I show you. You had also Pipi in Memphis. And I show you another one in Tis, Setnet Inheret. And also the daughter of Ramesses II and Nefertari, Mary Etamon, was, of course, priestess of Hathor. All the main ladies were priestess of Hathor. Now the sistrum. It is a mystical instrument of music used by the ancient Egyptians in their ceremonies, and especially in the worship of Hathor and Isis. It was held in the right hand and shaken. Plutarch says that the shaking of the 4 bars within the circular apsis represented the agitation of the 4 elements within the compass of the world, by which all things are continually destroyed and reproduced, and that the cat sculptured upon the apsis was an emblem of the moon. Perhaps originating in the worship of Bastet, it was used in dances and religious ceremonies, particularly in the worship of the goddess Hathor, with the U shape of the sistrum, handle and frame seen as resembling the face and horns of the cow goddess. The use of the sistrum in Egypt as a military instrument to collect the troops in the ancient Egyptian language was sechem and sesheshet. Sechem is a simple hoop-like sistrum, while sesheshet is the mouse-shaped one. You see, this one is a sesheshet. It was also shaken to avert the flooding of the Nile and to frighten away Set. Hathor, in her role as mother, protector, or punishing humanity having lost its relationship with the divine and spiritual world, was depicted holding a pail symbolizing the flooding of the Nile in one hand and the sistrum in the other one. If Hathor, in all the ancient texts, was punishing humanity, it was not because she was bad, it was because humanity had lost its connection with the divine. So it's very important to understand that. So we just saw everything regarding the little temple of Hathor in Memphis. And the most important thing that we learned is that Hathor's presence emphasized the crucial importance of the flood and of its long cycles that affect the entire planet. You always, in Egypt, you have the small cycles of every day, every month, every year, every thousand of years. And then you have the big cycles, 23,000 years. So my next tour is 15th of October, Giza. And my tour is very special. I think it's the only one showing archaeological sites and places non-open to the public with official permits. And I showed in 9 days, but very in detail, from Fayoum Lake to Giza. Very special. And I have another one end of January with Peruvian experts in order to compare Peru with Egypt, and another one in May. I have a big conference in States in end of December, middle of December, no, beginning of December. And I will speak about Giza and the divine island of Giza, but with a lot of new things. Also, stay tuned on Facebook and on my website, because we just made a lot of discoveries on the Giza Plateau, and we are editing everything, and it's an amazing, amazing things. So, very important. So there you have gigalresearch.com, Giza for Humanity, and my mail, gigal@inbox.com. inhabitants, and it was by far the largest settlement worldwide. From the time of its foundation, we think it's about 2250 BC, but this is, of course, the official dating. I think it was much older. So this is a picture in 1920 of what is remaining of Memphis. You see, it was a huge city. Memphis became the capital of ancient Egypt for over 8 consecutive dynasties during the Old Kingdom. And it is part of the World Heritage with Giza by the UNESCO. And this is not known. Memphis was a center for the worship of Ptah, the energy of creation and artworks. And it is remaining only Sphinx in alabaster in Mitrahina Museum. Oriental languages, and for that reason I am able to read hieroglyphic. Also, I did archaeology in another university in Tolbiac in Paris. And at the age of 20 years, I was in Egypt. So, this is my website, gigalresearch.com. My name is Antoine Gigal. I know that you said Gigal, but it's Gigal. And I'm French. You're right, I'm not only French, I'm Egyptian too. And this is true because I got a nationality many years ago. So, also, I funded an organization. The name is Giza for Humanity, with a team of scientists working about many research, not only in Egypt. You can find news of me on So for 20 years now, I am living in Egypt, mainly in Cairo, but I'm traveling a lot inside Egypt because I know every remote site, even non-public open site from 20 years. Egypt is a very complex topic, needing years of research and work. And unfortunately, there are people after 2 tourist trips in Egypt applying to conference like this and wanting to speak about ancient Egyptians. But, so my work, I started in the university 7 years because I did the University of Sorbonne about ancient, have the text and photos on my website. Well, now I will speak about the small Hathor temple in Memphis. So where is this temple? You see on the left, from Giza until Dashur, this is a line of all the pyramids, actually in Egypt. And you see that Memphis is right in the middle. So the city of Memphis is 12 miles south of Cairo on the west bank of the Nile. And the name of the village is Mitrahina. Mitrahina is on the place where it was Memphis before. And the city was also the place that marked the boundary between Upper and Lower Egypt. And according to Chandler, Memphis had some 30,000 Facebook every day. You can get news from Egypt, news for everything about Egypt of today and in the past. You have photos, you have text, you have everything. Also, you have a page for Giza for Humanity and another one for Cairo and for my church. So, with Giza for Humanity, I'm the founder of Giza for Humanity. We went with my team to make research deep inside Egypt, in the Western Desert, and one of my research was about the whales in the Western Desert. I work mainly with geologists because, to be true, I prefer to work with scientists and geologists than with archaeologists. So with Giza for Humanity, we work a lot outside Egypt too, and we found a complex around the Mauritius pyramids, and also I found 21 other pyramids in Sicily.